Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi to all my Muslim students. Hi everyone. This week we are going to continue with the next topic for the measurement of the opening. We have measurement for the doors and the windows. So we start with the doors, then we continue with the window. You need to know the basic terminology before we start the measurement. Okay? Let me change the color. So basically, if you look at the first one, fixed light, we have the side hung casement, we have the top hung casement. Normally in the drawing, you will see this double dot. So this double dot normally represent the opening or the glass, right? Number two, we may have the bottom hung casement, we may have the vertical pivot and horizontal pivot. Normally for the vertical pivot, the installation is at the center of the jamb, either center of the jamb vertically or center of the jamb horizontally. So different type of the window will give you different possible item to be measured. Next one, we may have double hung sliding sash. This is also applicable for the doors. We have horizontal sliding sash. And the last one, normally you can see in traditional house or maybe in the school, we may have louvered window. For the louvered window, the difference is you need to have the glass blade. So the terminology may be different. This one, we need to have the glazing, but this one we call this one as glazing or the glass pane, but this one we call is the glass blade, B-L-A-D-E, right? So as the introduction, this is what kind of the window that I did mention. We may need to measure separately according to the different material, either it is timber or either that is metal. And in terms of the type, whether we have louvered window that is either adjustable or the fixed window. And for the casement, we have either timber or metal. This is what I did mention just. Okay. Then you may see this one as one of the terminology. We call this one as the window handle, but technically we call this one as casement fastener. So there are variety of the material. The example for this one is using copper. This one is using aluminium or stainless steel. Depends. Okay. For the casement window, we normally have the casement stay. So this casement stay will normally make the window to remain open. We have to install this one. Normally one casement, you have either one or two. One at the bottom, one on the top. The other one, you may need to recap what is the lock available in the window. Depend on what type of window. This is also applicable in the doors. So deadlocks. We have variety type of the deadlocks, especially if we have the sliding sash. For the hinges, this is normally applicable for the traditional window side hung. Okay, let's say you have something like this. So the side hung window normally have two hinges, provided that this hinges is normally for the traditional timber or full timber design, not casement. Because for the casement, we have to use casement stay, not the hinge. Right, let's go to number one. The first item to be measured for the timber casement window. For the casement window, you have to refer to this taking off list. But this is only the guideline. The possible item to be measured, number one is lintel. You will see that lintel is applicable for every type of the window. So when I discuss about this lintel, you will see that this lintel is applicable for the next one, but we are not going to repeat. Okay, for the glazing system, normally yes, we have for this glazing. And then for the architrave, this is the decoration outside. The frame. Normally, this is the frame. This is the frame for the casement. This is the frame for the opening. This is the frame for the casement. Then the architrave is designed outside them. Okay, so normally architrave is the additional timber to be installed outside the frame to cover the jointing. Then we have ground or backing piece. This is only if we have the detail. The glazing bit is this one. This is the glazing bit, the timber, this timber. 1, 2, and 3. That is glazing bits. Okay, next one, we have the painting. For this painting, we have to measure separately for the frame and also for the casement. Unless the casement had been painted from the factory, then you don't have to measure the painting again. Fixing clamp is available where you have to install this casement next to the brick wall. And then of course the last one is ironmongery. So what will be repeated is number 1, lintel, number 2, painting, number 3, fixing cramp, number 4, ironmongery. The rest depends on the design. Okay, let's go to number 1. For number 1, we have to measure lintel according to 2 different sections. You have to look at the detail carefully whether the lintel is made from in situ or from this is in situ F13. This one for the precast concrete. Let me change the color. Sorry for a while. So number 1, this is for number 1. This is F.17. This is for precast concrete. F.18. This is for precast concrete, but exactly for the lintel itself. Okay. Right, we look at the first category. If the lintel is made from precast, you have to measure in meter, setting the size. If the lintel is made from in situ, you have to refer to F.3, basically have to be measured in meter cube. Okay, so this is the summary. So normally it is something like this. If let's say this is your lintel, sorry, this one should be this. Okay, let's say the bar reinforcement, you have 2 on the top, you have 2 at the bottom, so 2 on the top, 2 at the bottom. Then this one must be clearly stated in the description. Say you have another one that is stirrup. Okay, so maybe for the red color, this is Y12. Depends on the detail. For this blue color, maybe this is R6. Maybe the spacing is given as 150. So all this information must be stated. You need to write down the grade of the concrete, let's say G20, including the formwork, and then including the Y12. Remember to write high tensile 12 mm diameter, and then R6. So all of this has to be measured and stated in, sorry, not to be measured, but need to be stated in the description only, because this is concrete. Okay, let's go to the next item, that is casement framing, because this is timber framing. So let's recap what is the frame. For those who did not remember, this is the post. Sometimes I call this one as jam because that is next to the brick wall. Okay, and then at the bottom, normally you have seal. Sometimes you don't have, sometimes you have. Then the head, whether this is exposed or whether this is inside. Then on the top of this, you should have lintel. If we need to refer to the SMM, the main clause is under composite item. Why we call this one as composite item? Because normally this timber come together with the glazing. Whether it is not, whether this one come together or not, but normally we have 2 different material. That's why we call this one as composite material. Okay, for the purpose of the calculation for this casement, normally we have to measure in number. So can you check your SMM under clause M.21? But remember, in your description, you have to write the drawn information. Normally we have to write down, okay, this one as per drawing number 1 or per drawing auditor A. So measure in number, but in the description you have to write down the information. Okay, this is just to recap where is post, seal, mullion. Okay, and then this is the example of the description. We have to write down the overall sizes. So let's say here 1008 and then 1002. Remember, the first one is horizontal. So this is 1800. The height is 1200. This is only one example. And if you look at this, 1008 divided by 3, you get 600 each. So each of these is 600. But when we write the whole description, we have to write down the whole size, 1008 and 1002. So in the description, we have to write down each leaf constructed with 3 numbers of the panel, and then this is the size of your casement, 100 times 25 mm thick. Okay, including the post, mullion, transom head and the line according to drawing number. So this is the most important. Okay, what about your drawing? Your drawing is using timber or steel. Can all of you refer to drawing number 7? Your studio drawing number 7. You can see in drawing number 8 and in drawing number 9, they are details of your information. Okay, is it timber or is it steel? The answer is steel. Okay, or anodized aluminium. So that one did not falls under this section. You have to refer to section B. Okay, so this one only highlights for section M, that is. Let's go to the next item. For the next item, we have to refer to section T for the glazing. So work shall be grouped together according to the kind and quality of the glass. How many types of the glass that you have learned before? We may have two basic types of the glass. Number one, we have sheet glass. Number two, we have float glass. So number one is sheet glass. Number two is float glass. So for each of these, make sure you write down the kind and quality, that is normally sheet or float glass. Nominal thickness, it can be from 5 mm thick to maybe 25 mm. 25 mm normally for the car showroom or maybe for the high-rise building. Okay, kind of glazing compound. What are the method of the glazing system? Whether this is single glazing, double glazing, or triple glazing. Method of securing, if any. How the installation is. Nature of the installation, whether there is sash. Sash normally either sliding or horizontal sash or vertical sash, casement, or maybe you have another surrounding. So that need to be stated in the measurement or description for the. Okay, basically in writing the description, we also have to refer to another clause, that is T.3.1. How you want to know the category of this glazing? You have to measure. You have to measure the size of the glazing to know whether it falls on the category of which one in meter square, not as in 0.1 or maybe 0.1 until 1 or over 1 meter square. Okay, so maybe you can check in your drawing number 7 what are the sizes of the glazing applicable in each type. Then for each type you have to convert and measure in meter square, then only you know it falls under which category, right? So if you look at this example, this is what need to be written: MST or other equal approved float glass. So this is the type, float glass. And then glazing to timber frame. Glazing to timber frame, this is the housing method. How you want to put this glass together. That means this is using timber frame. Why we need to put MS? MS stand for measure separately. So why we need to put MS? Because the timber frame is going to be measured separately, but the float glass is the main item to be measured. Okay, including cutting glass to required size, weight, and cleaning. This is actually the standard procedure, and the standard information need to be written in the description. But what need to be stated again, referring to T.2 and 3.3, the thickness of the glass. Okay, whether the float glass is clear or opaque. What is the difference between clear and opaque? Clear, where the light can pass through. But if opaque, normally you only can see a certain part of the, it is not passing through, that is opaque. Okay, so that one need to be clearly stated. To timber casement window, and then with the glazing beads, whether you have to, this is actually the surrounding or the securing type of the timber, securing type of the glass. Then what is the category of the pane, whether it is 0.1 until 0.5 or not, let's say 0.1. Please check the category. The first one, whether this one is wrought, whether this one is sawn. That is the basic information that need to be written according to section M. And then what is the group of the timber, group A, group B, or maybe the type of the timber have been sorted, whether that one is chengal, whether that one is merbau. And then what is the size and for what purposes. One split, if we have something like this, this one is one split. If we have any split, then you have to write down properly. Okay, the size according to the cross section. So the measurement are in meter. Normally, if let's say this is your window, the architrave will be around this center line. So this is your architrave. Okay, around this window. Next item, ground or packing base, this is only to be measured if you have any detail, and even if you don't have the detail, the unit of measurement is in meter according to M.13.1. The same second fixing, skirting, picture rail, the rail and the light, this is under the same category, but because this one is behind the framing, normally we did not use rod pressure treated timber. We normally use sawn timber. That is sufficient. Sawn timber, what is the size, and then for what purposes? Packing. Next one, this is what I did mention in the beginning of the lecture. The glazing base is normally the type of the securing for the glass. You have to measure the glazing bit, if any, also in meter under the same second fixing, but this one falls under M.13.1 D. Okay, you have to measure in meter, stating the sectional size. So this one is the timber that is normally exposed on the surfaces of the window. Normally we use rod. We did not use sawn. Then as usual, you have to write down the cross section and then what is the purposes. Okay, either glazing bits or maybe packing piece. And okay, next one, we have painting. For this painting, the main clause that you have to refer is painting to the door, painting to the window, frame under clause U.5. Window for each side need to be measured over the frame, the lining, transom, seal and the light. So basically, there are two types of painting that need to be kept. We have number one, that is for the surfaces of the case. If I go back to this slide, number one, remember, you have to measure the painting for the casement itself. If you look at for the casement, let's say the design is like this. So you have the transom and mullion. So all of these need to be painted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is only one example for the casement. Number two, don't forget, we have the frame of this casement. The frame of this casement need to be measured as well. The frame for this casement need to be measured as well. Okay, and then if you need to know the category, we have to check the cross section of the timber. Say 75 times 25. This is the timber cross section. So you have to calculate the girth before we know whether that one falls under category not exceeding 300 mm. Okay, for this example, this is actually for the frame. Okay, if I draw the frame, this is normally how it looks like. So for the first one, this is the first category. Let me change the color to purple. Okay, this is the first category. We call this one as the back of the frame. Okay, the second category is for the surfaces of the frame. That is yellow color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yellow color, this is for the surfaces of the frame, like this. Okay, so how you want to know the girth? Basically, this is the length. Why we need to measure separately? Because at the back of the frame, we only need to apply one coat of the aluminium wood primer because this one is not exposed. But once the surface of the frame is exposed, because for the surface of the frame normally exposed, we have to do KPS, not prime and stop. That means we have 3 layers of coats or 3 coats of the aluminium wood primer and 3 coats of the arcade resin base paint into the following woodwork. So basically the type of the painting is different for the back of the frame and for the surfaces of the frame. That's why you have to measure separately. In order to calculate the girth for the surfaces of the frame, you just have to total up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you know whether it falls under which category. Okay, next item we have to measure is fixing clamp. Fixing clamp is used to fix the window frame to the brickwork or to the concrete wall. So basically this one falls under the same clause as your roof last time, M.T, under metalwork. This is under timber, but we have one item that is sunrise under metalwork of the woodwork, falls under M.T. Remember, this one also had been taught in measurement for the roof last time. you have to measure in number. Okay, next item, under ironmongery, under M.31. This is the example of the ironmongery for the timber casement. Hinges is normally applicable for the timber window, not for timber casement. Casement fastener, this is the handle. Casement stay, this is what we did mention to make sure that the timber remain open. The locks or the barrel bolts, that is optional. You have to check the type of the ironmongery available in the, then you have to measure in number. Basically, we have to write down supply and fix the following. And if you have the brand, you have to write down the brand. If there is no brand, just mention supply and fix the following ironmongery. Why we put the following ironmongery? Because we're not having only one. In one project, we may have 2, 3, maybe it can be up to 10 type of the ironmongery. So we put this one as the main heading. Every time you use the word pair, remember pair means you already have two. Let's say this is the window. Let's say this is the window. Okay, and then the pair means 1 and 2. If you have 2 in one drawing, we consider as 1. Unless you don't want to put the word pair, so we have to count 1 by 1. So 2 items in pair considered as 1. And if you don't want to use the word pair, 1 is considered 1. You have to measure separate. Okay, let's go to the second type of the window, adjustable louvered window. What is the difference between this adjustable louvered window with the frame? Okay, number one, you can see that the whole frame is different. This is the whole frame. Okay, the main frame outside may be similar, but the frame inside is different because we have adjustable handle. And then you can see that the type of the glass pane is different. This one is using glass blade, BLADE, but the glass used in the casement is one big glass pane. That is different. Okay, let's look at the example. We have the frame, metal adjustable louvered frame, and then we may have the security bar. We also have the drilling holes. That shows the difference between one more glass louver plate, the difference between the first type of the glass. Okay, so if you look at this, these are the examples. And this is the example of taking off list, possible item to be measured. Remember, all of this also require painting. But what is the difference with the previous one? We have the painting to the security. Let's go to number 1 for the timber framing. This one, same, under M.21, you have to measure in number, identify the type of the timber, whether this is rod or pressure treated, either group A or group B. Don't forget to write the drawing as well. Okay, and then look at this example. The second item to be measured is metal adjustable louvered frame. So we have to write down this one according to the specification given. This is for you to make sure that if you use the handle, that one can, if once you use the handle, it will open for the whole type of the glass blade. Okay, for this item, we have to measure the glass louver blade separately under T.10. You can check under T.10 now. Can you open your SMM under section T? Section T in your SMM, there is one subclause T.10. This is the difference because you have to measure this item in number, describing the thickness. This is example 5 mm thick. Cross-sectional, this is the size of the cross-sectional glass louver blade, and then how you want to install. Okay, this is the example where you have to fix into the clip of adjustable louver frame so that once you open using the handle, the whole glass louver will be considered as open. Next item, normally we have the security bar, but some of the louver blade doesn't have the louver blade, or the louver window doesn't have the security bar. You have to check the detail. Basically, for this security bar, we have to refer to section P. So section P, metal work, this is under the plate. We have to measure in meter, describe the material and the dimension. Even though this item is using Milesi bar, but this item is not going to be measured in kg. The clause that you have to refer is different because section P mean for architectural work. Section F in the bar reinforcement mean for the structure or part of the concrete work. So we cannot refer to section F in measuring the security bar, even though the security bar is made from mild steel bar. Okay. Right, once you have the security bar, of course you need to measure the drilling holes. This is for you to install the security bar. If you need the security bar, you need to have one hole here, one hole another side. In order for you to install the security bar under M.28, same under clause M, because the frame is going to be timber, you have to measure in number and count how many security bar you have. Basically, let's say in one louvered window, you have one security bar, consider 2 hole, and then let's say you have 10 security bar, that means you have 10 times 2. So that is how you calculate the number of holes. Okay, let's go to the next item for the painting. Painting to security bar, we have to measure by looking at the girth. So how you want to know the girth for this security bar? You need to consider the radius and measure 2 pi r. Once you measure 2 pi r, you will see whether the girth is less than 300 or more than 300. Normally the mean girth is not exceeding 150, so we have to consider the unit of measurement is in meter by measuring the whole length of the security bar. Okay, so this is the example of the description. Prepare and apply 1 coat metallic primer and 2 coats of alkyd resin. Basically 3 coats because this painting is exposed. It's not at the back. So we have to write based on 2 different type of the coats for the painting. Okay, next one, fixed louvered window. Shows the difference between adjustable and fixed glass louvered window. Normally, the glass louvered blade will be housed directly into the groove. What is the meaning of the groove? If you still remember in your CT2, when you learn about door and window, okay, let's say this is the frame. The glass blade will be housed directly inside this glass louvered, something like this. So you have to put the glass blade house inside this. So that is the meaning of the groove. Or in simple way, we can say groove as the hole made in the post of the jamb and the mullion. Okay, so for fixed glass louvered, we have to measure the same as the adjustable louvered window, except no metal adjustable louvered frame is applicable because everything is fixed. So what needs to be measured is you have to measure the frame, but with the additional information in the description. Look at this, stated in the description as per clause M.17.3. So remember, when you have fixed glass louvered, there is no item for metal adjustable louvered frame, but you have to plus the information in the description to write down that you have to put in the groove or the label work in the description of the frame itself. Okay, let's go to the last one, metal casement window. This is also applicable in your drawing. If you look at your drawing, okay, can everyone refer to your drawing? Look at drawing number 8. Okay, the drawing that we are going to use for this task is drawing number 7, drawing number 8, drawing number 10, drawing number 11. From the layout plan of the multipurpose hall, you can see that all the details are applicable in drawing number 10. So drawing number 10 in your drawing show that you can see the window and door schedule in the description. All the window are made from aluminium frame casement window. So it falls in the category of metal casement window. Right, for this metal casement window, you have to refer to section P under P.3. P.3 mentioned that the description must include kind and quality of the metal. So basically, kind and quality is either aluminium or maybe you use steel, and then once we deal with the metal, remember the thickness will give you very big influence in terms of the price. So you have to write down the thickness of the substance, method of fixing, how you want to house this one inside the opening of the brick wall, what is the overall size, what is the finish, whether it need to be painted or whether the finish is anodized, whether the finish is need to be painted. Okay, so the finish need to be stated as well. How many numbers of the opening and what is the glazing type? Even though this glazing has to be measured separately, but we have to state in the description. So you can refer to section P.3 to write the description for the metal casement window. This is the only difference because the rest you have to measure packing piece, you have to measure the lintel, you have to measure the fixing clamp, seal, and the light. But what shows the difference, that is what I would like to highlight in the next type of the window. Okay, this is also to recap the type of the metal casement window we have. And then if you look at how we write the description, look at the first and the second example. The first example is using natural anodized aluminum window. Anodized aluminum, that is the finish. Material kind and quality is aluminum. Overall size is 2004 times 1740 height. Then you have to mention how many components that is inside. If you look at this, there are 4 numbers of top hung and 8 numbers of the fixed panel. So that means if we look at this, basically you can see that there are 8 6 pane and 4 numbers of the top hung. Okay, and then if the information mentioned that you have to measure or put the ayamangri together with this drawing number or the supply of this window, you don't have to measure the ayamangri separately. But let's say the ayamangri is having different specification, then you can measure ayamangri under different item. Okay, but the most important information is to write down the drawing number and how it's going to be installed, plug and screw to the brickwork or the concrete. This is for alternative number 1. Why we put 2 alternative? Because there are a lot of information that is not applicable in the drawing. So in order for the contractor to maybe order the material, they have to refer to the dimension given and all information given in the specification of the drawing. But let's say in the drawing, they give you the catalog that you have to refer, or maybe the brand that you have to refer. Then you can see here, the size may be standard natural anodized. Look at this sentence. Obtainable from aluminum products in number height. Let's say this product had been given and the code had been given, the brand had been given, then you have to write down in the description. That means you don't have to write the drawing number. That is optional. Okay. So as the conclusion for this topic, remember the first item that you have to measure is lintel. For any situation, once you have the opening, you should have lintel. Remember, you have to check whether the lintel is precast or in situ. Number 2, make sure you measure for the frame, and you have to check whether the frame is made from timber or metal. If using timber, that means you have to refer to section M. If metal, you have to refer to section P. Number 3, you have to check whether they are architrave. This is for the decorative purposes or decoration purposes. Number 4, you need to have fixing clamp. This is for the installation of the timber frame with the jam. Number 5, you have to check what is the operation or the glazing system. The glazing system, whether you have to refer to the overall size of the pane or you have to refer to the glass plate. This is normally applicable for the louvered window. And number 6, remember all type of the window must require painting. The most important is painting for the frame and the painting for the casement. Okay, so the rest of information such as security bar, metal adjustable, louvered frame, and then packing piece. Packing piece required to be measured as well. Number 7, packing piece. And then any additional item, let's say you have roller shutter window, that one you have to refer to the detail properly. Okay, with that, thank you very much. You may need to continue with your measurement of the window by only preparing the schedule. So this time the studio work is only preparing the schedule of the window. You have to identify the list of the information, the list of the window in the drawing, and then identify where is the location and count the quantity. So there are only 3 columns need to be prepared for the schedule. Then I would like you to prepare the taking off list for only the type of the window applicable in drawing number 7. If you see that the detail is available in drawing number 9 and 10, but the window is not applicable in the layout plan, then you don't have to measure. With that, thank you very much. See you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to my Muslim student.